Hi, everyone. I'm your guest host, DJ, and in the hot zone today is actress and director Tamara Bass. Today, we'll be speaking to her about her new film, Don't Waste Your Pretty, and her other movie, If Not Now, When, in theaters now. Stay tuned for all the details because you're in the hot zone.
I never really realized how many bad dating habits I had. Most people don't.
No, most people just don't want to. If you didn't walk around with your nose in your phone or in a manuscript all day, you notice there are men everywhere.
Damn.
And why are we always talking about my dating life instead of yours?
Because that would be a very short and boring conversation. I can't even remember the last time I've had sex.
Oh,
that's
scary.
Bad.
That's a problem.
So Tamara, I'm so excited to speak with you today on your film that just premiered on TV1, Don't Waste Your Pretty. And as I was saying before, I loved it. It's such a great movie. It's so relatable. Take me back to the beginning. How did it all come to fruition?
This is the first time that I was strictly hired as a director, where I didn't have to write, I didn't have to produce, I just got to come in and direct. So it's crazy this how this job came to me. You know how you say, okay, this is nothing but God? It's nothing but God. So I wrote and co-directed and starred in a movie that came out at the top of the year called If Not Now, When. And I did that alongside Megan Good. And our line producer from that movie was working on Don't Waste Your Pretty. And so she calls me one day or was like, hey, I have this project. I think you'd be perfect for it. Can you take a read of the script? I think you'd be amazing, to direct this. And I'm like, okay, someone's thinking about me. Yay. So I read it. I prepare my little, pitch. And then she calls and is like, well, TV1 says no. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And then like a month later, it comes back again. But this time they're checking my availability as an actor because I wear all the hats. So they were calling to see if I was available to possibly play Micah. And then it came back again and said no. So I was like, okay, God, like, I don't know what's happening here, but sure, I'll just roll with it. A month later, I get another call. And this is from a different producer. And he's like, hey, I got this movie, producing it for TV1. I think you'd be perfect for it. And I was like, okay, well, they already told me no, like both times on something else, but maybe it'll be different with this movie because you guys have a different relationship. Send me the script. He sends me the script and it's Don't Waste Your Pretty. And I'm like, wait, what is happening here? So again, I prepare my little pitch deck. I send it over to him and I'm like, here it goes. At this point, I'm like, I don't know what is happening, but I'm a firm believer that God does what he does. All we can do is do what we do. So I did what I did. I put together my pitch and then COVID hit. And so it was supposed to start shooting in March. COVID hit, everything got shut down. And I was like, okay, God. And then June comes, I get a call like, hey, are you still interested? And I'm like, sure, I've been sitting on my couch for 4 months. Of course I'm interested. And the rest is history. I got an offer. I flew down to Atlanta a week later and I got the ground running. So it was a twisty way, but I keep reminding myself of that story because every time we think a door closes or there's a no, we don't know what God is working out on the other side. So we just have to have faith that it will all work out the way it's supposed to work out.
You mentioned you made your first directorial debut with the last movie, If Not Now, When. So how do you compare your first experience as a director and going into directing your second film with Don't Waste Your Pretty? How was that for you?
I grew. I could definitely tell that I had much more confidence walking into Don't Waste Your Pretty. I'm a pretty confident person, like in terms of my therapist one day told me, you have a strong sense of self. And I was like, well, isn't that why most people go to therapy? So I'm ahead of the curve. So I have a strong sense of what my purpose is. But when you're a woman, and in particularly a Black woman in Hollywood, you get told so many times that you're not that thing. So I don't care how strong you are as a human being, parts of that start to seep in and you start to doubt yourself. You start to say, well, maybe I'm not as great as I think I am. But with If Not Now When, the unique thing was Megan and I got to do that project all on our own merits. We had no one to answer to. We had no one to say, you can't have that or you can't do that. But with that still comes that sense of, well, like I hired myself. That doesn't, I'm validating myself, but no one else has hired me. So with Don't Waste Your Pretty, having someone else hire me to execute a vision that I had a confidence walking in. I knew with If Not Now When I could direct. I knew that I had the tool set necessary, but with Don't Waste Your Pretty, I remember being in our first production meeting and being a little freaked out, like, okay, am I a fraud? It's that imposter syndrome. But after the first question was asked of me, I was like, wait, I do know that answer. I want blah, 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 blah. And I could see. So I knew that had I not exercised those muscles with If Not Now When, I don't think I would have been as confident. And then when you're a woman in a male dominated world, you tend to, want to shrink yourself. And then on top of that, I'm 5'2" and considered petite. So I'm like, I walk in there and I'm like, I look like I'm 12 on most days. So it's like trying to command all of that respect. But I knew I had what I had. So it was great. I'm happy that it went that way.
Good. And what was it like working with the cast? This film stars Carrie Hilson, Deborah Joy Winans, and Rhetoric Williams. What was the relationships like with them?
Oh
And the
my
rest of
gosh. We don't ever come to our group chats or anything because I don't think any of us went to work expecting to make friends. We went to work expecting, okay, we'll get along, we'll do a great job, and we'll leave it at that. Within my first meetings with all of them, I knew I had lifelong friends. Like Carrie was beyond what they told me she was going to be. I was like, okay, they told me you were going to be sweet, but I didn't expect to laugh as much as I did with you. Deborah Joy, we laugh about the fact that within the first 2 minutes of our Zoom, and I was nervous because I was like, she's a Winans. I curse like a sailor. How is this gonna go? Like, what's gonna happen here? And then I knew I fought so hard for this woman. I was like, what if she sucks? Like, what? Like, all of that was dissipated. We're now on our third project together, and that's who I went on a walk with yesterday as we're enjoying our weather. And Red is like the brother, like I have brothers and he fits right in there with them. I harass him, I tease him. He hates the fact that I call him pretty. He doesn't, he gets over it really quickly though. So it was definitely, I walked away with friends.
what I love especially about this movie, just kind of tackling into how it's so relatable and just with our own lives, it's just the representation in the movie as well. I feel like not even just the representation for like Black love, Black friendships, Black relationships, but also it ties in LGBTQ and also just like dating. Like I don't think we put enough focus on people who are in their 30s or even in their 40s and up, and just the dating situationships and all that. And I love that was represented in that film. What were your thoughts about going into that and representing all those like angles?
I'm a big believer that everyone should be able to turn on the TV and see themselves. So I feel like that's why God made me. And, I started this career as an actor. And I thought that was all I was going to do. I was going to act. I was going to go in auditions and then I realized along the way that he gave me these other gifts because if I relied just on somebody telling me yes or somebody telling me that I was good enough, I would never get to see that full representation of what our experiences are. So every project now that I either write or direct or both has to have that full array. It has to have that thing. And that's why I loved when I got the script, I was like, oh, I can see this. I can see, I want my friend over here to be like, oh yeah, I'm Amma. And my friend over here is like, wait, I'm Micah, I'm Janae. That was important to me. And then when we got the actors to feel that, it was important to me that it's representative of what we look like. You know, I love the fact that Deborah Joy Winans is chocolate and she's a regular size. I don't even like to use this word full figured because she's a regular sized woman and she's the love interest and she's desirable and no one's questioning that. Because look at her, she's freaking gorgeous, but you believe it. I wanted people to believe that even someone that looks like Carrie, who, let's face it, Carrie hit the genetic gene pool, but which is genetic jackpot, but she's beautiful inside. So I wanted the inside to radiate more so than the outside. And then you believe that someone like her is still single because it's such a reality that we tapped into. So for me, I want everyone to be able to see themselves somewhere. And even with the older couple, like older people date, they keep going. And we need to see that. We need to see that life doesn't stop if you're 30 and you're single. And I think that's where we have this misconception in the world, is that if you haven't achieved everything by the time you're 30, it's never going to be done. Most people don't even hit their beginning until 40s. So let's normalize all spectrums of the experience.
Going back to your other movie, If Not Now, When, you were a jack of all trades in that movie. You acted, you co-produced, co-directed. Was that a challenge, just kind of wearing so many hats? And how was it like directing yourself on camera, for example, as a director?
It was a lot. It was challenging, but challenging in a good way. Like I always say, I was built for things like that. I do well under pressure. Like some people buckle, some people run. I'm like, oh, pressure, I'm gonna thrive. And then you're gonna, especially if it's pressure and you tell me that I can't do it. Oh, that's it's a winning combination for me. And so I think with If Not Now, When, Megan and I heard so many no's, and we heard so many people tell us that what we were trying to do is impossible, that it fed a fire underneath me. You know, I sat down, I wrote the first draft of that script like 15 years ago, 16 years, a long time ago. And it was never intended for me to be in it. And then, especially because at the time, I think I was like in my early 20s when I wrote it. And I was like, I just want to write something about friends. And then years later, we were trying to get another movie made and that didn't work out. So I picked back this one up and I did a page one rewrite. And in that rewrite, I was like, no, I have something to say. And I'm really big on Black women being the focus of our narratives, but being the focus of our narratives in a larger way, like not just this myopic view of what society thinks Black women are, but to represent the fact that we're not this monolithic entity. So I set out to write it. I sent it to her and I was like, let me know what you think. And then I held my breath, which I do with everything that I give creatively. I always hold my breath because I'm like, what if everyone else hates it and I think it's great? Like, how do we do this? She hits me back and she's like, TT, we're doing this. Let's go. Let's hit the ground running. And again, we heard every single no, or we heard a lot of yeses if you do this. Yes, and it was a matter of us not compromising our integrity, not compromising our vision. And then we have this wonderful man, Victor Oladipo, comes in and we pitch it to him and he stops us mid-pitch and he's like, you had us at Black women. Whatever you need, I got you. And he was our investor. He was our executive producer. He let us make the movie we wanted to make. But with that did come a lot of pressure. It came pressure to make sure like whatever we put on that screen, we stand behind, whether or not critics like it, whether or not, critics and audiences are always two different things, but whether or not anybody else gets it, we know what we're trying to make. And if at least one person likes it, we're confirmed in our voice. And surprisingly, more than one person liked it. And it was great though. And I learned what I don't like to do. I learned what I love. And then I learned like, and the next one, I'm going to delegate that. I don't want to handle that one. So I needed that. And I'm the type of person that I need to learn by doing rather than sit back and watch. I need to see for myself whether or not this works for me. And yeah, it was a lot of hats, but I'd gladly do it again and again and again.
I love it. And speaking of wearing many hats and being superwoman and just women empowerment in general, it's March.
It's March.
It is Women's History Month, Women's Celebration Month, although every month is Women's Month, every day, every second, every hour. But we are in March. I want to know, what does female empowerment mean to you?
Ooh, to me, it means that we no longer ask permission. We don't need to ask permission to exist, to be fully formed, to be equal, to be us. And I think when we get to that moment where we stop asking someone else to validate our existence, we will fully walk in the power that God gave us. And that's something that happened to me at 40. I said, I'm not going to ask for permission anymore. I'm not going to ask permission to exist. I'm going to be, and I'm going to not dim my light to make you feel comfortable anymore. And I think that's when I really started stepping into who God created me to be.
What do you have currently going on or coming up this year? Any projects you're currently working on?
Yes, I just wrapped a movie that I wrote and I was executive producer on for Lifetime that Deborah Joy Winans is starring in. That's going to come out in April, I think it is. So look out for that. Right now it's called The Color of Love, but I'm not sure, that sometimes they change the titles. So I'm proud of that. And then we're also currently pitching a TV show. So hopefully someone says yes to us, and trying to get another job like everybody else. But those are the things that are like immediately on the horizon.
I love it. You're booked and busy. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations on all that you're doing. And I can't wait to see more. I really can't. You are a big inspiration to us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How is it even possible that someone like you is still single?
Here.
So what are you gonna do about it?
Hi, I'm Tamara Bass, and you're watching The Hot Zone.